thank you all, and thanks for the opportunity. I'll keep the introductions very short. My name is Aneesh Nair. I'm Director of Connected Solutions, business for Australia and New Zealand. Been with Honeywell for quite some time now. It's been 18 years plus in Honeywell. Started as a grad engineer in Honeywell 18 years back. Can't remember, but yes, moved across that. Did a couple of leadership roles within Honeywell, both global and regional, and now we are here. So in my role, just want to give a little bit of a context about when we say connected, what does it mean? Connected, a lot of people means a lot of things, but in from a Honeywell perspective, it means that how do we leverage data from different OT IT systems in different facilities to drive outcomes. So we're talking here about moving away from really features and benefits to really how do we drive outcomes for our customers. And that's what Connected focuses on, using data and insights to drive actions. Now, in terms of why we're here, sorry, I just flipped the page here. Today's topic, we want to look at really challenges and some of the possibilities that we have in healthcare around operational technology. And for context, those I think most of the guys here are technical, sort of technical. So operational technology that we're focusing on is anything that is used to run the facility. So you think about your building management systems, think about physical security, cybersecurity, IT, OT security, thinking about electrical and power systems, your metering architecture, infrastructures, lift elevators, all of that becomes part of the OT infrastructure. So the key focus will be on OT that goes into facilities as compared to, if you look at medical systems, care systems, we're not talking too much about that, though they are very important in pretty much all context. Now, as we start, we are heavily invested in technology and teams. A lot of healthcares are, but operationally, many organizations that we have seen are still operating in silos. You spend a lot of money and infrastructure to really stand up systems and teams and departments, but are they actually talking to each other, both from an equipment perspective, data perspective, also from a process and people's perspective? All of these are not connected. So that's a problem that we're trying to solve overall, not only for one hospital, but someone who manages a portfolio of hospitals. Do we have the right data to drive decisions that impacts patient care the most? So, and the gap, and this is where the gap is, where we have these siloed systems and solutions. The gap is where these inefficiencies and delays and avoidable risk tend to build. So the conversation today is really about how do we bring these data from these disconnected systems together to drive that outcome-based insights and action. So I will walk you through why it matters and where the biggest friction points are today that we are seeing in globally with our customer base, and what can be done differently to really drive benefits and outcomes for you and your customers, who basically are users of hospitals, patients, and staff, and surgeons and stuff like that. So let's get into that. I'm not sure if this is blocking the view. Just trying to minimize it. So, try again. Before we talk about details and outcomes, we need to acknowledge how much of the operating environment has changed. So this is really a global perspective, or marketing, can call it marketing intel, that we've got from a global perspective. A couple of data points here to focus on. These are anchor data points or challenges, you could call it, right? You'll start with really 100% average turnover of nursing workforce here. So it talks about really the lack of expertise, or because of constant turnover that happens in healthcare industry. That's number one. And number two, again, it's very similar, focusing around safety risks and how it impacts our operations in the hospital. The fourth one is around deferred maintenance. That's kind of more and more becoming a norm as you see in too many hospitals. Again, it's essentially non-intentional. We defer maintenance not intentionally. It's non-intentional because it's a side effect of lack of resources and really the lack of expertise and constant turnover. So it's basically a side effect of all of these imperatives that you see in the first 2 points. But what does it mean? Deferred maintenance again means that you're adding risk to operation, and you're waiting for stuff to fail before you can act and preempt and predict things. So again, this again relates to staff turnover and all that. And the last one, and one of the important ones that we kind of not focus too much nowadays, and it's important is around energy efficiency. Around 4 to 5% of global emissions are coming from the healthcare industry. Yeah, it's a big number. If I convert that into some big numbers, it becomes 2 gigatons of carbon emissions. And now if I want to offset 2 gigatons of carbon emissions, I have to grow 100 billion trees. Right? This is kind of an impossible task. So it's a big imperative, though the numbers are small. It's a big imperative that adds that compounding pressure to how we operate our hospitals today. So with these challenges as anchor, we move forward and see how some solutions can support you solve these problems. Okay. So as we move forward, again, now we're focused on the challenges. We'll try to focus a little bit more on what is the opportunity to solve some of these challenges and what really matters for the healthcare today and for tomorrow. Again, what it matters is not a single technology or department or initiative. It's about ability to deliver better care and be able to do consistently well on delivering better care. And we will be seeing more focusing on how do we gather data from existing buildings, existing equipment to drive that efficiency. I will focus on 4 key outcomes that I think are important. Again, going back and connecting back to those challenges that we came across. So number one is operational efficiency. Again, it's a very broad terminology. It can be taken as in different meanings, but in healthcare, it's just what we say. It's not just about cutting corners or simply implementing some sort of a Gen AI initiative without really understanding what problems you're trying to solve. It's about removing friction. When you talk about operational efficiency, it's about you looking at an existing workflow and then thinking about how do I efficiently improve that existing workflow, right? Do I have real data and insights to understand what to be done to improve that workflow? Can I cut down the time taken to diagnose problem? Can I reduce the cost of repair? Can I predict my energy consumption so that I can drive energy savings or optimize my building performance, right? Those things kind of tie back into operational efficiency. So it's just not simply, cutting labor or doing Gen AI. It's just beyond that, just putting that in context. So in many organizations, what we have seen is critical data sits in separate systems, operated by different teams. And that makes coordination very, very hard. And that should really, what should turn into simple routine tasks just takes too long because of this collaboration and lack of passing on and sharing data. Right. So the shift that we're seeing is that more and more assets are connected, workflows connected, processes connected, then you can really impact and drive more efficiencies. Now, once we connect the data, we basically are trying to reduce avoidable costs, right? Can we avoid certain unnecessary workflows? Can we cut down the delays in detecting problems? Can we improve energy efficiency more than what we're doing today, and so on? It also frees up people's time, and the folks can really work on focus work rather than chasing things and running around and being reactive. So it's moving from really a reactive world, which is spending more money on not only on operations but also on energy imperative, just to moving away from that to more of a proactive way of working. Uh, so the next one, second one is again important one. That story is more about safety and security in healthcare. Now that sits right at the center of operations. More clinical systems are integrated. Um, it becomes again a cyber risk is no longer an IT problem. We call it. It becomes everyone's problem. And how do we detect those cyber risks? Considering that a lot of systems are connected every day. Um, does it impact your operations? Yes, it does, right? If you've got a cyber incident, it impacts care delivery. You have to shut down regions of the hospital. That becomes, an uptime problem. Call it uptime or business continuity problem. Impact to revenue. All of that. So it's a massive issue. And if you look at play with some data points there, they say that typical cyber risks doesn't get detected for an average of 10 months, which is a long time. In that 10 months, anything can happen. People can creep into systems. They can, pretty much sabotage the whole system and infrastructure that we have. So that's a big one. And those malpractices can happen both from an IT perspective and OT perspective. And typically the IT ones are really, really handled well by the IT ICT teams, but the OT systems are always operated separately, as you guys all know. BMS and security systems are connected, but they're all in separate networks and typically, not visible to that IT OT layer. It's changing now. I see that changing as we speak to more customers. We ourselves as BMS incumbent providers, we get a lot of regulations and compliance that we have to meet to make our systems and software compliant. So that's changing. I can see that wave changing. But that's a big one as well. And another data point that I will call out is that 78% of organizations had more than 3 attacks in 2025. So that's a big data point if you look at it. People don't know that there is a cyber issue. Energy and sustainability. Now, the third priority is energy and sustainability. It's important one. This is where really how I want to start this is it's just not about saving energy. This is how you really are bringing financials and operational aspects together. Really, you're leaking money in energy. Though in some hospitals the energy bills are fit by the government, it doesn't matter. I mean, you either are leaking money is leaked, right? And that is interrelated to how we operate our buildings. And there's a big correlation in terms of how we operate. Energy, comfort, equipment uptime, maintenance, all of that intersect in a way that it impacts cost and overall margin of how we operate our hospitals. And now when the systems are siloed and inefficiencies stay hidden, and you don't know if you don't have the data from all these interconnected systems, and then you'll be paying for wastage that cannot be easily seen, or if you don't see it, you can't control it. It's very, very simple. So more connected approach allows you to cut through those silos, and different teams can, if you think about different personas, if you look at a facility manager, a sustainability manager, it could be a maintenance manager, all of them will have similar visualization of energy and energy spent and hidden problems very, very consistently in the same manner, so that they can control how to operate their buildings and how they operate their assets to then in a more energy centric maintenance manner. So moving forward, the message is quite simple. Future ready healthcare operations come from unifying data and technologies that run environmental of care. And that again helps you reduce the cost, strengthen your performance of buildings, and create a foundation that really adapts to future changes. Future changes like increased adoption of AI, ML, and all of that. So it kind of helps you do that. If you don't have that data layer and standardization of data, then it becomes very difficult for you to kind of leapfrog from there into the world of AI and to be able to unlock more benefits from there. Patient care, we kept it consciously last. I know this is the first thing that you care about. But now why this is last is because the three priorities that I mentioned actually impacts patient and staff experience, which is the most important thing. And this is why the healthcare exists. So building performance is reflected in how people move around, the air they breathe. The performance of the building is essentially directly correlated to the air people, patients breathe, right? Um, the environmental, so what we're doing is by collecting data and driving outcomes, we're creating an environment that supports that care and medical aspects of it and removes friction from our processes. Now, moving forward, the first section was more about talking about challenges and some of the priorities that healthcare has. Now, moving forward, what is the lay of the land? Like right now, this represents a lot of our customer base and a lot of the discussions that we are having. This doesn't mean that you don't have systems which are connected. This means that you have advanced systems, but they are not connected in a manner that we are consuming the right level of data to drive meaningful outcomes. So that's where the unlock is. So you have this connection here means that there are systems, siloed systems and data. There is custom engineered solution. There's too much custom engineering going on everywhere. There are on-premise systems that have no connection to the cloud, hence they can't scale. There's also multiple engineering and maintenance teams really not having access to the right data. So it's not about having multiple engineering and maintenance teams. It's about not having the right level of data to actually do their job faster and more efficiently. Um, where we are moving towards is a connected world. That's what is changing. So what it means is that from disconnected, you're going to a more connected world where there is integration of systems, and that means that you have portfolio control. Now, you're not talking about integrating one system in one hospital. You're talking about systems in multiple hospitals connected together. So a portfolio manager, he or she who cares about, let's say, 30 hospitals, understands benchmark, prioritize capex investments, understand where to focus on, and then start to drive benefits. And benefits around reducing energy costs, benefits around reducing maintenance costs, harmonizing teams, doing remote maintenance, and driving efficiencies. So all of that is possible if you have connected systems, not only connected, but you have to harmonize and normalize the data so that you can then really manage multiple hospitals from one command center, right? That should be the vision. And that's what we are seeing globally, the trend of how people and organizations are moving. And then again, last point is that it kind of creates a foundation for AI assisted insights, and it augments the operational workflow. It's a heavy lifted word here, but what it means that it allows the teams to work together with data, right? It augments, it's tooling, and AI is not about replacing or cutting down on labor. It's more about really augmenting and making you more efficient and faster in terms of what you do, so that you can really focus on things that matter, and you can let data and AI do the other boring part of the work, right? We're very similar to how we use ChatGPT today. So now I have talked a lot, but how do we get started here? Again, we're making it very, very simple. We are not saying that to start the journey, it's a massive leap. It's not a massive leap. It doesn't require you to rip and replace an equipment, upgrade and so on. It's just incremental steps. And then we can talk in detail as well, but incremental starts from really connecting your data. Today, in today's world, there are, as you all know, there are a lot of industry protocols, open systems, which allows you to, in a cost-effective manner, consume your data, real-time data, up to a platform. A platform can be on-premise, the platform can be on the cloud, so you source up the data, so that's number one. Number two is that once you have the data, can you normalize the data? And can you understand the context of the data? So you have all this data sitting somewhere, but can you actually understand that this data is from a hospital A, and can you actually make some meaningful insights from it? So that's number two. Once the data is up on the cloud, then we imply those AI ML models. We do data normalization, cleansing, so that then that data can be reused and used for future needs to drive outcomes. Configuring to your needs. When I say your needs, it's again, it's not about again getting someone to come and configure the outcomes for you. It's all about making the data available to your engineering teams, to your maintenance teams, to then so that you can actually customize the slice and dice the data depending on how you want to see it, what you want to do with it. Right? Um, Number four is that really tying that data back into some outcomes, and this is more important. I've been talking about outcomes. I think I've probably used outcomes a million times here, but it means that what do you want to do? Like, what outcomes do you want to drive? What are your KPIs? If your KPI is to meet the net zero goal, then that becomes one of your KPI, and then you structure your outcomes to meet that, right? If your KPI is to harmonize your maintenance teams, make sure that the maintenance teams can use the data in a very consistent manner. Hence, overall, over a period of time, you reduce maintenance cost, then that becomes your KPI. So all of the data can be used to then drive those KPIs and then achieve ROI at scale. Because when you have software and data, the question is about, is it making financial sense to me? Can I actually drive a return on investment on all of the effort that I'm spending? So it's a simple process if you look at a couple of steps. So it's not asking or demanding us to upgrade and massive leap. I have to check the time. Right. Now going back into solutions that are available, especially from a Honeywell point of view. I'm just only talking about a subset of solutions. Honeywell is, of course, it's a massive technology company, but we're talking about really those solutions that drives that outcomes that we spoke about, right? So we say that we start with basic visualization of data, which we call it Connect. Starting from that side, it does basic KPI management, and that starts on day one. It doesn't require a lot of modeling and a lot of learning and weeks of labor effort. It just starts from as soon as we have the data, we just do a very basic benchmarking, KPI management, and you can do energy assessment using that to understand where you stand. You got 30 buildings or 30 hospitals. You know that 10 of them have an energy problem because it's tracking pretty bad in terms of the energy utility index. So you need to focus on those. You can know the scope 1, scope 2, and emissions target there. Very simple, which on day one. You will know your asset life cycle. That's again a risk, because if a chiller on AHU fails because of an aging infrastructure issue that you don't know, then that becomes a risk and abatement issue at healthcare facility. So all those kind of things can be detected, and then you steer up from there. You can then, if you look at maintenance efficiencies, you want to make your maintenance team more efficient and augment them with predictive maintenance capability. Then that becomes your next tier, where we do fault detection, AI/ML prediction. We help you triage problems and make it easier for your teams to do stuff. Carbon energy management again becomes another tool that goes on top, which to power demand management, EV management. If you've got electric vehicles in the facility, then we consume data there and really look at how do we orchestrate power and demand between your EV and your other infrastructure. So those kind of things. And then site manager. This is again a new way to operate multi-site, we call it, because multi-site is, think about your clinical facilities, pathologies who are all over the place. There's no BMS there. There's no complicated controls. There's packaged units. Can I control them? Is an opportunity to drive energy? Yes, there is. So multi-site solution allows us to connect without on non-BMS sites and gives you a very simple dumbed down version of a controller on the wall. On an iPad, Now you lift it up, you have, 50 pathologies. You can control all those 50 pathologies from one command center. You don't have to do a truck roll, anything happens. So all the remote management is avoiding the truck roll to those 50 pathology centers that you are having across the state. Right? So that allows us to do all of those things. Uh, a little bit of a detail there. I will do a technology sneak peek, so you will see that in action. But what does day one means for us in terms of collecting data? Day one means that you have a simple KPI dashboard, we call it. So we manage KPIs from patient comfort, maintenance, alarms, all of those becomes your energy, asset life cycle, energy assessment, reporting, all of that becomes a very, very basic day one unlock on value. Now going forward, you would have predictive maintenance capability. Predictive maintenance again allows you to streamline your maintenance practices, reduces the maintenance cost, and lifts that BMS capability onto the cloud so that you can really manage and maintain your hospitals from anywhere in the world. Really. Um, Now with more AI and assistance on AI, so we have features on AI-enabled maintenance, where we can predict the probability of failure. This becomes a game changer. Of course, in the past, we used to do that with hooking on a vibration sensor, which we can do, which gives us detailed analysis on magnetic flux and rotation speed and noise coming from an equipment like a pump. That's still possible, but can we do that without any sensor? Right? So can we predict? So we are using a lot of AI ML models, which is again patented technology, to really predict and tell operators that okay, this FCU can run for another 6 months, or this FCU has a problem. There's a bad mechanical problem. You might have to contact your mechanical subby to come and schedule a repair in the next 2 weeks. So that kind of insights we're getting to with the AI-enabled maintenance. So we do that for chillers, FCUs, AHUs, all the rotating equipment and critical equipment that kind of runs your hospitals. Triaging, we do smart triaging is another functionality where we use AI to really do the pattern analysis on past issues, and then come back with a recommendation on what to be done to solve the problem. How it helps is imagine a service technician that you've hired and is a grad from a university or from a school, doesn't have the breadth of knowledge of 30 plus years experienced technician, right? So just taking the example because the new generation wants tooling and they can't run around and find the piece of equipment and then decide what the next course of action is. We are augmenting them with the tool, which basically tells them based on the 10 previous issues that happened on FCU, this could be the potential issue. There might be a wrong filter there, or there might be a need to replace it, or there might be just a set point problem. You can just go into the BMS system and drive a set point, and that fixes the problem. So the triaging becomes, so we're cutting down the triaging time from somewhere between 30 to 60 minutes to really 10 minutes. So that's the advantage there. So anyone who comes in doesn't need training requirement here, whether you're a 30 plus year technician or technician with 6 months of knowledge, you can still use the system and then drive the same similar sort of benefit, right? It's hard to compare someone with 30 plus years to 6 months. So I won't do that. Might not be able to get out today. So Forge Assist is another functionality where we are now lifting all this. There is a lot of capability within the software and hardware, which is again in a Honeywell technician's brain. Right? You need to configure something, let's say as simple as trend, and you call a Honeywell tech or a subcontractor to understand how to configure a trend or schedule or configure a custom dashboard. So we're going away from that by enabling really a chat GPT type interface in the software where you can just ask the question, tell me how to configure a dashboard, and then it just pops out how to do it in a visual manner as well as in a contextual narrative manner. So it kind of helps you retrieve all the information from product manuals across Honeywell at the moment, and then helps you drive that. Again, reducing the reliance on Honeywell technicians to come and do the servicing, or helps you with the configuration. I'll not spend a lot of time here because we spoke about this. So this is again a little bit more advancing the predictive maintenance capability with a simple sensor that can be attached to a rotating equipment. It has 6 type of measurement techniques, and really drives that outcome on when to replace the equipment. So it allows you to do CapEx planning. Because in the past, what we used to do is we used to do asset audits. Someone goes around the building, either has a handheld device which hooks up to the motors, rotating equipment, and then pushes out a report based on an Excel-based asset modeling tool, right? So we're trying to get away from that by using real-time telemetry data, by hooking up these sensors and the power of predictive maintenance. We report out on what is the remaining useful life of the equipment, as simple as that. And do you guys need to pay attention? Do you need to change the asset? When do you need to change the asset, and so on? So it gives you the next scheduled maintenance time based on the prediction. It also tells you the remaining useful life. So how do you use that data? You just basically do a CapEx planning with that data. Just getting up to the time, I guess. Let me push on with it. So overall, I want to bring the story together. We spoke about those 4 challenges. So what we're really talking about is moving healthcare operations away from a collection of separate systems and towards one connected operating environment, really around these 4 areas. Overall portfolio management, energy management, ensuring that the uptime and operational efficiency can be impacted to really create a safer and more secure building. Have we done that? Yes, we have a lot of case studies across the globe and in the region. This is one example of a Canadian sick kids hospital where we're driving 500K worth of potential energy savings by doing basically collecting data and then driving those inputs. From a technology sneak peek, before I go, how much time do I have got? 5 more minutes. Okay. So I'll just drive very quickly. Technology sneak peek, let's see. Yeah. This is essentially how we start the whole journey. When you start the connect data, you really have visibility to simple data. It's just not complex. Think about this as a facility manager, portfolio manager. It gives us benchmarking data to really understand where my problem pain points are in the hospital, and then kind of take actions from there. So so we're trying to simplify the visualization by doing that. We're also have to fast forward the demo. That comes with reporting capability or control capability. So now you are think about this as a maintenance manager. You look after like 50 pathologies, and you're shifting the whole packaged unit capability, controlling the set points, scheduling capability online in a remote fashion. So you got visibility to assets. You can go and change the schedules. You want to put a asset on and off, change set points from 21 degrees to 23 degrees. All of that can be done without rolling the truck. And that's the key word here. Advanced, from an advancement perspective, again, you can do reporting, energy reporting, usage reporting. So we do complex reporting, all of that goes into your compliance and file and sending back to the management. That can be done as well from the same platform. We also shifted away from having to call a Honeywell technician or an engineer to do customization. As you can see that we have a tool called Insight Builder that allows you to slice and dice data. Depending on what your outcomes are and KPIs are, You don't have to depend on a Tableau or a Power BI. You just open up an Insight Builder, slice and dice, create your own visualization using existing data that we've got. This is more about security. Now, security is more moving into conversational type interface where, we talk about basic network status, basic status of equipment, access control cameras. Can I ask a question, right? Can I really do a conversational type interface where we tell me all the key top 10 system alarms in the past 2 weeks, right? So it's again moving, it's a paradigm shift. It's moving from those dashboarding thing to really asking a question and then reporting back on those by populating the dashboard. So it's actually creating the dashboard with the questions and conversations that we are having. I'll pause there. I'm conscious of time and
Keep going, I'll spit it out.
all right, okay. Yeah, okay. Now, where the future is moving, I just want to also talk about where the future is moving. We spoke about dashboards and analytics that everyone does. Where we're moving towards is agentic AI, right? You talk about this agentic AI evolution, where that's a paradigm shift. We're moving away from dashboards and analytics to really asking questions that matters. You don't want someone to sit on the dashboard and look at all the widgets and do that. Yes, you can do it. It's still beneficial, but can you actually look at the real time performance of the system? And you can see that Honeywell Forge is analyzing the whole building and then really coming out with creating those outcomes. Okay, there's an AHU temperature. So all of that basic information about the system. And you can ask the question, you can tell me the current building performance, and then it'll come out with recommendations and pop out with the details. So it'll exactly telling the technician and the maintenance team where to focus on and what is the impact. By solving A, B, C, D, it tells that it's improving the comfort by 20%, it's reducing the energy consumption by 10%, and so on. So it's actually goal-oriented, and as you can see, I don't know if you guys skip through that, you can see that it's basically goal-oriented and object-oriented, rather than someone sitting at a BMS desk and then finding out where the problems are. So it's kind of shifting. That's a paradigm shift that we're taking. If I ask them, show me the energy spikes in the last 7 days, it just brings up all those issues and the consumption or the energy wastage I had in the last 10 days. And what can be done? Really, can I do a load shifting? Can I do an optimize set points? All of that. How can I improve my energy performance? All of these questions can be asked, and you can very pinpoint ask those questions. So you can start a day with understanding how your building is performing, and you end the day with really asking that engine what should be done to improve the performance. I'll pause there. We have a group of experts here from Honeywell, so feel free to pop in. We've got a small group here, so we can have conversations and really understand some challenges that you have and see how we can help you from a Honeywell point of view. All right, thanks for your patience and listening to me. Thank you.